Once again, after about a year, we have the pleasure of talking once again with Zoé Bouchard Kanzawa in Niyodogawa in Kochi. Thank you so much, Zoe, for joining.
Thank you for having me.
So last year we talked a lot about the Niyodo Adventures,
Mhm.
tours and business that you and your husband are doing. Just to catch up viewers who may not have seen that last year, can you give us a little bit of your backstory, where you come from, and how you ended up in beautiful Kochi?
Yeah, for sure. So I'm French Canadian. I was backpacking for a few years, and eventually I went back to Canada. In British Columbia, I met my husband, who's a rafting guide. So he was guiding in Japan mostly, and then he went overseas for the winters, and eventually he went to Canada, and we happened to work together in British Columbia. So I was a yoga teacher, and he was a rafting guide, and we fell in love, and yeah, and the rest is history, really. So I came to Japan because of it's not true actually. The rest is not history. It's still building. But yeah, so his visa was running out. He was on a working holiday visa in Canada, and so it made sense for me to come to Japan. And I had traveled before, so it wasn't like very unusual for me to move across the world to live. And so I did that maybe I think 3 years and a half ago. And so we worked for an outdoor business here for about half a year, and then we started our business in early 2020. And the reason why we came to Niyodogawa in particular, we were working in Otoyo, where Violet is living. And yeah, we were kind of driving around trying to find a place to set up business. And here there was nothing. Basically, there was no one in terms of outdoor companies, and it's beautiful. And we just felt like it was very underutilized. So yeah, we moved here, and then we're still working on the business. Really, I was about to say again, the rest is history, but it's not, yeah,
It's still evolving. It's still
right.
evolving, I imagine. And speaking of your business, how have things been since last year, since we talked last time? Have you been able to ride out the coronavirus slowdown?
Yeah, it's been quite good actually. So this year, well, it's kind of always growing every year. This year we had staff as well, so that's kind of a big step for us because it was a very small business operated by just the two of us, my husband and I, and sometimes having guest guides or like help coming from other companies. But this year we had a few, like a full-time staff member, and then other guides coming to help us. And yeah, it's been very good actually. I feel like the more the more it goes, the more people kind of know who we are, and so people are more drawn to come here. Also, when we first started, people didn't really know what pack rafts were, the little boats in the photos that you can see, and now it feels like it's becoming more mainstream. So we have more people coming for that, whereas before it was just canyoning. And of course, now the borders are opening, so we're hoping that next year we can have more of the inbound tourism coming to us. That would be lovely because usually people, especially with their first trips to Japan, they stay within the. I think the name is the Golden Route, right? So the Tokyo, Osaka, Nara, and Kyoto. So we're hoping that people also get off the beaten trails and come to Shikoku. And yeah, it's been very good. This year we were also on TV on Nihon Terebi at the begin. I'm not sure if it was the beginning of the season. I think it was August-ish, and so that really helped also.
They're
Yeah, that.
showing pictures from your Instagram now
Yeah.
of canyoning and pack rafting. For
Mhm.
people who aren't familiar, could you describe canyoning and then pack rafting?
Sure. So canyoning can be very different from a company to the other. So for some places, it's like zip lining, abseiling, like you can see here. Some other companies, it's simply just like shower climbing, just walking through the canyon. So it's really different from a place to the other. And for us, it's mostly like cliff jumping, and then we have some abseiling. Um, and the most special thing about, I would say, our canyoning is like it's so beautiful. It's like insane. You feel like you're, I don't want to say in another country, because Japan is beautiful in its own right, but it feels very magic. Like you can see here, the cliffs are really steep, so you feel like you're alone in nature. And that's what I think is really special about our trips. We're really trying to get people out of their heads and more into their bodies, especially people coming from the city. So yeah, the canyoning is mostly just abseiling, jumping in the water, just swimming a little bit, and then just observing the beautiful nature around you. Whereas pack rafting is inflatable kayaks, so you go down the river, and it's a little bit challenging if you've never paddled before, but it's definitely possible to do. So it's beginner friendly. And we can have family trips sometimes, depending on different sections of the river. Like the one you're showing now, that's the family section, or the typhoon section. So when after a typhoon, we have to go there. And there's some rapids, like you can see here. That's in the normal section where we go to. And it's quite fun. You fall off your boat, it's all good. You just get back on, and that's it. I really, really like pack rafting. That's like one of my favorite things to do.
And then you've got such great videos and everything. Definitely refer people to go and check out the Instagram page. We'll put a link here as well. But another really cool thing you guys do is the sauna tent. Tell us about the sauna tent.
Yeah, so actually we got that idea two two winters ago, because we were like our business is very much seasonal. We do a lot of the summer activities, excuse me. And so we were like, okay, what could we do in the winter as well, or in spring or autumn, that could be really nice to do. And so we thought about the sauna tent, because it's, of course you're gonna paddle a little bit. It is a little bit cold. If you want to swim, you can swim, but then you have the sauna to go in, and then obviously warm up. And it's in nature, so it's amazing. The view is stunning. The water is really, really clear. So you kind of alternate between doing the sauna and then going for a swim in the river. And then actually in a couple of weeks, we have something that's called Niyodo Blue Festival. And we have for that a special tea from someone in the area who makes his own like essential oils. Actually, the one we use for the sauna is from him as well. He uses hinoki oil from the area. And then he makes ginger and lemongrass, and there's something else in the tea: ginger, lemongrass, and I think it's lemon peel or yuzu peel. Yeah, yuzu peel. And so we're gonna use that, and so people can go in the sauna, can go for a swim, drink their tea, and if they want, they can just do a few rounds of that. In our usual tour, we do coffee as well. But it's not for everyone, obviously, because you go in the sauna, if you're really sensitive to that, it might not be the best thing. So herbal teas is, yeah, it's often better for some people. But that coffee is actually also from a roaster, our neighbor actually, who roasts the coffee. So everything is very much local, and we're trying to keep it that way. But yeah, it's super
It
fun.
looks awesome. And then you had a really cute video of how you guys make it. You put up the tent, and then you use rocks from the riverside. Is that right? And then local wood. So everything is very locally sourced and more sustainable than you might see in other places. I am also intrigued by these sauna hats.
Yeah. Yes, what would you like to know?
Wait, why? Is it just to be cute or is there a purpose?
No, there is a purpose actually. So apparently, so I'm not a sauna expert. There's this page actually. If you guys are interested in doing more sauna, there's a website that's called Sauna Ikitai in Japan. It's for people who wants to go sauna, quite obviously. And on that website, I'll go back to the sauna hat in a minute. But on that website, you can write like how much time you spend in the sauna, what temperature it was, how long you stayed in the water, and then people like it and they're like, "Yeah, great job." So anyway, these people would know better probably how to explain this, but the goal is to keep your head somewhat cool. Otherwise, your head gets too hot, and then that's when you can have headaches, etc. That's what I understand. Um, but yeah, there is a. We were trying actually to get them made with felt from Japan. It fell through because the artist or many of the artists that I've reached out couldn't make like 10 hats on a whim, which is fair enough. But that's something that we want to do eventually, or I could make them myself. I've never done it, but I'm sure if I put the effort in, I could manage. But they're
I
really fun though. There's some on like
Yeah.
Etsy and stuff. It's like fairy hats and stuff. So
They
yeah.
look so cute.
Mm,
I have two women that I've interviewed who they make locally sourced textiles. So maybe I'll put you in touch with them, and
please.
you could create your own signature sauna hats. Wouldn't that be
Yeah.
fun?
That would be lovely. That's my winter project. I have a lot of time on my hands usually. So.
What a great way to warm up and
Mm-hmm.
cool off because you get all hot in the sauna tent and then you go into the cold river. I
Mm-hmm.
think last time you also mentioned it's really popular even in summer, right?
Right. Yeah, that's quite surprising to me. I'm the kind of person during like August, we have the river right next to our house, so I go swim all the time. But a lot of people were actually saying like, yeah, no, actually it's way too cold to swim in. And I'm like, it's 40 degrees, like that's the point, right? But some people really need the sauna to actually go in the water. So yeah, in August we're pretty much fully booked with the sauna rental. Um, and yeah, people love it. They just rave, and I guess there's the element of like the steam and the hinoki oil that makes it different. But people make a day of it, and our rentals are for 6 hours, so they come with their family, they do barbecue, go for a swim, sauna. So yeah, there's a boom at the moment. I think a lot of people either rent ten saunas or buy them or start businesses to do tours with the ten saunas. So I think it's very much like on the rise at the moment.
That's awesome. And one other thing you mentioned last time, which I think is a great selling point, is that you said basically along any of the rivers in your area, you can just pitch a tent and camp without a problem. This is quite unusual in Japan. Usually you need to find an official camping place, right?
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm not sure whether it's a Shikoku thing, but there's a lot of places around here. Like if there you see a little beach like this, it's okay to camp usually, except if it's a private property, obviously. But yeah, it's very much camping friendly. There's a place just around the corner from that beach in particular that you're showing that's called Miyazaki no Kawara, like Miyazaki campsite. And it's super super famous because of the clear water that you can see here. Now you can't see how busy it is, but in the summer actually this river's got like traffic jams of like stand up paddle boards, so the beach itself is packed just with campers, and that's the case along most of the Niyodo River. Yes, and it's good. I mean, people really are really clean. They clean up after themselves and everything. And if we see something in the river like plastic, etc., we're obviously picking it up. But I'm very surprised how clean people are. Like if it was in Canada, that would be like free campsites. I'm pretty sure it would be way more chaotic. So yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's a thing about this area, right, of Kochi, is that it takes a bit more effort to get there, but hopefully that's a good thing as well because people plan to stay longer. Can you tell us a little bit about some of the other services around your area? I think you have a great craft brewery nearby, right?
Yeah, yep. So there's Mukai-san, Ken's brewery. So Ken is American, and then he's like third generation Japanese, I believe. So he is up in the mountains. So from where we are, like the road that you can see here, you just keep going up. That day in particular, it was the Matsuri day, I believe. So that's why there was a little tent pitched up with Ken's beer. But usually he's way up in the mountain at the tap room. And yeah, there's a few really cool things to do. You can go fishing if you like. There's some tours that are organized for that. It's not English speaking from what I understand, but I'm sure it could be arranged. There's a few English speakers in the area. And then we have us, obviously, for like outdoor activities. There's a lot of accommodation. So there's Yunomori, that's a little bit more fancy, like it's a onsen and a hotel place. Then there's a Shimonano Sato. Shimonano Sato, that's like a refurbished or an old school that they converted into a camping ground and an accommodation place. So that's a great option for a little bit more budget friendly option. And then they're actually trying to refurbish a lot of the old schools around here. So I think that's great. Like just taking the old buildings and making them into something else. There's a lot of great restaurants also. There's a Asnaro Cafe, which is pretty famous for the tea that they're making and everything they make with it. So like they make udon, cha udon, so like udon with tea, and then a lot of things that come from the area. So yeah, it's pretty good. We have everything we need except for maybe like a bulk store. That's my goal in the next few decades, I would say. But yeah, we have everything we need here.
That's awesome. And then it looks like the night sky is just incredible.
Mm-hmm.
This is something I really appreciate when I go and stay in Shikoku, especially. You have so much less light pollution in that area, so much more rural and less cities, I think.
Mm-hmm.
But this picture from your social media is just stunning. Can you
Yeah.
see that on most nights from your area?
Yeah, I would say so. Like we live in a little kind of cluster of houses, so you have to go a little bit further up in the mountain. But yeah, for sure, like that's not uncommon to see a very clear night sky like this. So yeah, we're pretty blessed with the low amounts of light pollution for sure.
That's awesome. Now, one thing we didn't really have a chance to talk about too much last time is your passion for helping people become healthier, not just like you said before, to forget about your stress and troubles and connect with nature, but your studies and your training and now your coaching in holistic medicine. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Sure. So I have studied a lot of different modalities. So previously, I was studying yoga. So way back, I went to India to study that, and then after I studied Thai traditional yoga massage. And I also studied Reiki. I studied a lot of like, actually herbal medicine as well through a school in Canada. Eventually, I found health coaching through a school in America. So I did my training in health coaching. But all of these did not feel like it was really getting to the root cause of the issues that I had. The reason why I studied so many things is because I had my own health issues. Of course, it's interesting, to learn about these things. But when there's a goal, there's definitely more drive to to learn more. And still, practicing meditation or doing a little bit of yoga or doing this and that. And I still had the same issues, which I can, talk to in a minute. But so eventually I worked with a functional medicine practitioner who had done some of this similar studies than I did, in terms of health coaching. And she had, she kept going with her education with functional medicine. And I was sort of like really amazed at her knowledge and how she saw the symptoms in terms of connecting the dots. So I thought, okay, I need to study this. Like this is it. And so I started studying about a year and a half ago. I'm on my second year now, and I've got a little bit longer to go. I've got 3 years and a half ish. But it's amazing. So I was already seeing people with my health coaching practice prior to that, and now I'm kind of I kept going with it, seeing it through the functional medicine lens. So yeah, the functional medicine is different in the sense that it's a whole body systems way to see the symptoms. So instead of seeing, for example, someone who's like, oh, I have a headache, instead of saying, okay, take this for your headache, whether it is herbs or whether it is medicine, instead of just seeing it as the issue is the headache, is like, okay, why is there headaches? Is it because you have not enough magnesium? If you don't have enough magnesium, why do you not have enough magnesium? Is it because of your food source? Is it because of your digestive juices, maybe like the stomach acid, maybe the digestive enzymes that are not strong enough? If that is the case, why? So you kind of keep digging until you find something that can be changed sustainably. And it's often people often know somewhat what they have to do, but my job is to kind of guide them and educate them on the body's language, which is the symptoms, and to try to find what makes sense for that specific person. And yeah, so it's really, really fascinating. I love studying it, although it is very challenging. But yeah, so I've been kind of doing that for the last year and a half on top of Niyodo Adventure as well. I hope that makes sense. If you have questions,
Yeah.
please let me know, because it's like it makes sense from my perspective, but sometimes it doesn't for other people. So yeah.
Yeah. And you talk a little bit on your website about how this came from your own personal experience, like you said, with some health problems on your own. Have you found it easy or able to transition to the kinds of foods or the kinds of supplements that you can access in Japan?
That's a good question, actually. I think that this is one of the reasons why having someone to guide you is such an important thing, because it's so overwhelming, the amount of well, first of all, the amount of things that you need to do, or like the advice that you get from other people, and whether you can access that in Japan. I would say once you know where to look, and once you know the substitutes that you can have, it is somewhat easy. Yes, it's not always easy. There's some things that you can't really kind of substitute for other things. I think that one of the strengths of Japan is the local food, right? And so a lot of what I do is leaning into that in terms of the nutrient rich foods. And so that includes being fresh food, because if you eat something that's been picked thousands of miles away when it was underripe, then chances are that there's not as much nutrient in it. And so I think that's one of the things that we have in our favor, is the fact that everything, well, not everything, but most things are shown like in season. In terms of supplements, some people don't want to take supplement, which I totally respect. In which case we lean more towards, maybe herbs, or just in terms of eating hygiene, sleeping hygiene, etc. Which also is very powerful. It's not sexy. It's not a sexy topic to say you should sleep better, but it actually makes a tremendous difference for a lot of people. So to answer your question, yes and no. There's a lot of study to be had in terms of which vegetables you can replace with which. But there's also a lot of good resources. There's Tengu Foods in Saitama that produce a lot of great stuff. Like let's say Brazil nuts. That's something that I, especially for people who have like hypothyroid like symptoms. Brazil nuts are, I don't want to say magic, but almost. So they have some of these. There's iHerb, that's also good. I mean, obviously you order from overseas, but that's an option. And yeah, just generally eating slower, eating, chewing your food is something that's also very important. Yeah.
Yeah. It's interesting, isn't it? I imagine as you continue doing this, like you said, there are a lot of great local resources. You probably start your research and develop more understanding of what is available, who's doing what. Every time I go around, even in Hiroshima, I always notice new things. Oh, wow, this person's doing a zero waste store in Hiroshima. I didn't know about that. Or, oh, wow, this is a new vegan place or something, So I imagine your area, which is so focused on nature and health and outdoor activities, it just seems to suit that area so perfectly. I think
Mm-hmm.
last time we talked to Zoe, I was saying my dream is to come and visit you and to do like a yoga in the morning and a sauna by the river and a adventure. Like, do people do a lot of, like, in the area, do they do a lot of different activities, or is it mostly they choose you guys and then maybe just do camping and relaxing? Like, how is it doing that combination of things that you know about nutrition and lifestyle with the kind of activities you do with the adventure tours?
Mm-hmm. I would say at the moment they're very much separate. So my functional medicine coaching clients are online. So I see mostly expats, kind of helping them navigate the Japanese healthcare system and to find answers to their symptoms. And in terms of the yoga teaching, I used to teach in the city in Kochi because I teach in English. Teaching in Japanese is something that I would very much like to do down the road. I don't feel confident nearly enough at the moment to do that. But eventually, that could be something that's really interesting, the yoga and the tensona and the activity. Um, but yeah, to answer your question, people mostly come for the activity and then either camp or go to the craft beer or maybe go do another activity. Like there's some clear kayak also in the area. So yeah, it depends on the level of of adventure that the person is seeking. Usually when they come to us, they kind of want a next level adventure because it's not just flat water paddling. So yeah, that's kind of that. They sometimes do a few activities, but most of the time they come, do the activity, go drink beer, and go sleep in their tent. That's, I would
Which
say, that's the
which
average.
sounds pretty good.
Yeah.
Sounds pretty good as well. The last time we talked, you said in the future. So I'd like to update your future aims here. Let's see what you think of what you said last time.
Right.
Last time you said you want to open a zero waste store. I think you mentioned that again today.
Hmm.
You want to do holistic coaching, which it sounds like you're starting to do. Wonderful.
Hmm.
And you also mentioned around your area, there's a lot of potential for reusing old buildings, like remodeling an old house to maybe make a shop or a cafe or something. Is that still kind of where you're at, or you've got some updates for us?
Yeah, I would say that's pretty accurate still. The zero waste shop is still at the in my mind. I haven't done anything, concrete to actually get it on, to get it done. But it's still there. I would say like it's something that I'm sort of waiting to have more people moving here. That's I've changed in that sense that like instead of thinking, okay, let's reuse the old buildings, I'm thinking let's do that with the help of other people moving in town. Like there's a few people who do the, well, maybe you know the Kyoryokutai program, like people moving to inaka, like to countryside towns, and then they start their own projects. So I'm hoping that more people want to move here, because if I just start, having a lot of projects with old towns and no one living here, that's kind of defeating the purpose. So our goal, I would say, is to make this town more attractive to even for English speakers who want to move to Japan. The houses are really cheap and it's easy to kind of to start a business here, I would say. I mean, it takes effort, obviously, like anything else, but it's a good place to live. So yes, using the buildings, but also getting people to move here. I think it's more important than anything else at the moment, especially with people, taking going on retirement. It's kind of scary to think what it's going to look like in 10 years. So yeah, I would say that's my main aim at the moment. And yeah, holistic coaching, I've been doing that. But I would say at the moment, functional medicine is very much kind of at the forefront of my life. So getting more and like studying more, knowing more, doing more PR with other people who have the same kind of goals, because I think that it's a modality that really thrives from having other modalities around, so like in a multi-modality clinic or something along the lines of that. So I'm hoping to get in touch with other people who do this kind of work in Japan, and to learn from each other.
That's great. Yeah, I think that sounds really good. And as you develop more clients and more experience, and then you kind of have a better vision for how it can move forward as well, right?
Mm. Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
In terms of surviving coronavirus, and then now your business should be getting busier, and the area should be getting a few more international visitors. Have you noticed a change since the borders have kind of opened up this month?
Yeah, we have a few bookings from overseas, because in our forum there's like a thing where, like, where are you coming from? Usually it's like Kochi City or Tokushima, and it was like Sydney, Australia, or like Ontario. So we're like, oh, like it's happening. But for the most part, we are a summer activity company, so I'm thinking that it's mostly going to be next summer, which is okay, because now we're kind of, we've had our high peak of summer, so we're ready to chill. um, so it would be somewhat unfortunate if we became really, really busy right now. So yeah, I think next year is we're definitely going to feel it more.
Would you say that the summer is the best time to come? So plan your vacation to come to Niyodogawa for summer, or would it start from spring? Like, can you give some people some planning advice?
Yeah, so for pack rafting, you can do it pretty much all year round. It's a little bit more chilly, of course, when you do it in winter. But our tours start from April. So, like, doing it with the sakuras blooming is also beautiful. And that's of course, there's less people. So it's nice. But yeah, summer is, for any water activity, especially for canyoning, I would say August, July, September, I think is the best time to go, because it's not as busy as August is, and it's still very much enjoyable. It's nice and warm. Even early October is still definitely warm. That being said, yeah, August is very, very busy. Like we usually we're pretty booked out even like a month prior. So if it's something that you want to do, I would definitely advise planning it ahead. Yeah, that was actually in Kyoto. So when we go somewhere, we usually take our boats and because they're like 2 kgs, not even. So we pack them in our backpacks and go somewhere
Wow.
on a different rivers. So yeah, we went to Kumamoto as well. We went to Kyoto, and then where else did we go? Well, in Shikoku, pretty much all the rivers here.
Yeah, it surprised me last time how light these pack rafts are, that they're only 2 to 3 kilograms, right?
Yeah, they're 2 kilos. So it's really really fun. There's a lot of people doing. Oh yeah, that's me hesitating doing a backflip. I didn't do it in the end. Uh, um, but
Spoiler,
yeah, I
spoiler
didn't
alert.
do it.
Yeah.
So yeah, there's a lot of people doing something that's like bike pack-raft. So they actually take off the wheels of their bike and they strap it at the front of the boat, and then they go down the river on their pack-raft, and then vice versa. So they pack up the pack-raft in their bag and just bike around the rest of their trip. So that's quite fun. I heard that there's actually a competition in Hokkaido recently of people doing that, like pack rafting and then biking, and I think there's something else as well, but I'm not sure. That would be really cool to do though.
Yeah. Well, it just seems like you've got so many more options when it's not so heavy, right?
Mm-hmm. Absolutely, yeah, for sure.
Oh, that just shows how clear and clean that water is around you guys. And that was originally one of the reasons you guys settled in that area, right? Because of
Mhm.
that amazing water.
Yeah, yeah, it is. And I mean, for canyoning, it's another experience in itself when the water is so clear. Just being there is an experience, and then doing all the adventure like canyoning activities is another, so it's kind of hemping it up a little bit more. And yeah, I mean, it's beautiful isn't it? Like in itself, it's enough for us to want to live here, and right next to our house we've got the river, so it's nice to wake up to as well.
Oh, it's just so beautiful. It's amazing. You must pinch yourself sometimes. Amazing that you live in such a beautiful area of the world, right?
Yeah, for sure. It's beautiful. And it feels like a secret almost. Like no one lives here. It's so strange to me. Uh so yeah, hopefully more people are gonna want to move here. Please come. We'll have
Yeah.
you. We'll hang out.
Yeah, that sounds awesome. One of the problems that a lot of rural areas are having, even if they have a lot of empty houses, is they don't have a lot of empty houses available for people to rent or buy. Are you seeing that same problem in your area? Or are there
Mm,
enough if people do want to come and buy or live?
yeah, so there's a lot of empty houses, like you said. I think there is a reluctance from the local people to rent to foreigners, not even in the sense of people coming from other countries, but coming from other prefectures as well. Um, Although there's always a few houses on like the Niyodogawa website that you can have a look in and check if you want to rent. I think it takes some time to get to know people and then find someone who has a house to rent. One thing that's really great though is that there is a an accommodation system here that you can go live in, like it's a share house for a year or up to 2 years, I believe, whilst you're looking for a house or whilst you find your house. So that's something that we've been through. Like we actually rented that through that guest house for about a year before we found our house that we have at the moment. And I find that the Machiakuba really, really try to help you find a house. You're not on your own. Um, so yeah, I think that the system is pretty good. But yes, there's definitely an issue with a lot of empty houses and a reluctance to let people from the outside in. Um, but I think, yeah, we're trying to work through that. We're trying to show people that we're not bad and like put our garbage at the right days and like, all that stuff.
And I think that's where people like you who are residents that sorry, um, how you guys make it easier,
Mm.
right? Because you can vouch for other people too, right?
Yeah, but there's also a lot of pressure, right? Like when I'm driving, I don't want to do anything wrong because I'm like, if I do something wrong, they're gonna blame it on the fact that I'm not from there. So, so
Yeah.
yeah, I'm just being really careful. Like I said with the garbage, because I know it's such a big deal here. So like, you know,
Well,
the
that's
triple
actually
danger.
one of the things that I hear a lot, even with, like you said, outsiders, outside from coming from outside the area, not just international people, but people that might put the garbage out on the wrong day or not sweep up their leaves or do some of the things that the community values, right?
Mhm.
But I
Mhm.
think the more people like you guys, you and your husband coming in, doing new things, but you're still showing how, even with a new idea, a new kind of business, you still really care about the local community and the local environment. And then that helps them trust other people, or at least give them a chance when other people come in, right?
Yeah, I agree. I agree. Luckily, our neighbors are really chill with all of that. They're really nice people, and they bring us a lot of daikon, so that's great.
That's something I've heard at rural areas as well. You end up doing a lot of like exchanges.
Hmm.
You want to come and ride the kayaks, and then they gave you like a bunch of mikans or something.
Hmm.
Why not? Like that
Yeah.
that tit for tat kind of exchange and collaboration amongst your neighbors. That's wonderful.
Hmm.
Now, one of the things I was really impressed by, this canyon is just incredible. And you said even some local people, they don't recognize the photos that you guys share from within the canyon, because looking at it from the inside is so rare and special that even locals who've never seen it from the inside think it's somewhere else, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Amazing.
Hmm. Yeah,
So
actually, you can see the bridge on that photo. So usually people look at the canyon from the bridge, so they can't really see from within the canyon. Yeah, and it's something completely different. When local people actually come canyoning, they can't believe it. So yeah, we're very lucky to go there for sure.
oh, that's amazing.
Mhm.
And then looking down, of course, that beautiful clear water. Now there's something interesting about the Niyodo blue. What is the story behind that?
I think the name just comes from the fact that it's really clear, compared to, like, let's say the Shimanto or Yoshinogawa, which are the two other main rivers in on the island. Shimanto is known because it's so long. It's one of the longest rivers in Japan. So I think people here really wanted to distinguish themselves from other rivers, and so they pretty much named it Niyodo Blue. And I think, from what I understand, it's just very clear, compared to other rivers. And although there's a lot of dams that are being built, so I'm sure it's not what it used to be. But still, it's unreal. I've never seen water that blue before.
It's incredible. And one of the things I'd heard is that there's not many dams, but actually, when I was driving around the area, I saw a lot of dams.
Hmm. Yeah,
So
there's a lot.
hopefully, yeah, hopefully there's less dams, or there's more areas which are natural riversides, not completely covered in concrete. I did notice some areas and it had the natural rivers, and then other areas completely covered in concrete on both sides. I know that Alex Kerr often writes about this in his Ia Valley.
Hmm.
It was so sad for him to see everything covered in concrete. This seems to be a trend for the last 50 years, of course, all over Japan.
Hmm.
But some of the areas around your pictures anyway seem to show more natural riverside, and hopefully it will stay that way.
Hopefully, actually, the canyon is not dam operated, so it's not. That's why it's so clear, I believe. And the Niyodo River itself, there's a big dam that was made, I think, 50 years ago, the Odo Dam. And since then, the water, like this one, you can see it's clear, but it's not the same as the canyon. And the reason why it is becoming clear is because of other really clear rivers kind of merging into the Niyodo River. Um, so yeah, it's I'm not sure. I don't know enough about, like, the reasoning behind the dams to say whether it is a good thing or not. It sure is not nice to look at, but I hope that there's a good reason behind it, because yeah, it's very sad to see how many dams there are, for sure.
Yeah, it's one of those things, like Alex writes in his book, Dogs and Demons. It's set in motion a long time ago, and then it's hard to stop that momentum of just keep doing the same construction projects, which has a lot of input from our economy in Japan. So it's one of the big issues. But it's just amazing to see these photos and these areas which are more natural, and
Mm,
let me know if you need people down there to raise that voice and say how amazing these natural areas are. Everybody spread the word. Let's keep these areas as natural as possible.
I
One
agree.
of the guys I talked to in Totori, Richard Pierce, and he is seeing how when you add even the erosion controls in the rivers in beautiful Dyson, that it has a lot of negative knock-on effects. So he's finding the giant salamanders can't go upstream to breed,
Mm,
and these are negative knock-on effects we should know about and make sure don't happen if we're trying to improve the environment, right? There's always things to consider on both sides.
mhm.
Definitely shows that
Sure.
concrete is not always the answer, right?
Yeah, there. I believe that the area here used to be very popular for unagi, for eel fishing, and now that it's not the case so much because of the dam mostly. Um, but yeah, it's something that I think is very important to dig more into, especially with everything that's going on. I do know that in the area here there was a lot of they say palm trees. I don't know whether that's the right name for the tree, but that were planted in the mountains because there's a big kind of forestry industry around the area with hinoki, but then they're not really using them anymore, and they kind of really suck up the water. So like the amount of water in the river is not what it used to be, like even 10 years ago. So there are some people who want to make a change and who want to, like, you know fix the situation and maybe like replace these palm trees with more local breeds, which I think is something that's very, very important, and I want to take part in. There was a few people who were talking about it over the last year, so we'll see how this goes. But yeah, I think that's something that would be very important to do.
Oh, that sounds awesome. Yeah, definitely. It's all reassessing your case by case local situation. What do we have? What are our hurdles? What can we do better? Let's make a plan that's more sustainable. And I think there are people and communities like you guys who are thinking about that. So
Mhm.
that makes it more attractive for new residents, but it also makes it more attractive for visitors, so that will bring in more tourism and more income that way as well, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah. I see a lot of the, especially in Shikoku, when I go to Kamikatsu or
Mhm.
other areas, and there are local entrepreneurs who often talk about these same issues, right? It's
Mhm.
not just about tourism; it's tourism is a part of it, but it's also about getting new residents, which is so important. You have to
Mhm.
retain the quality of the environment and the quality of life, and everything is connected, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, Chemcats is great too. I was there actually a couple of months ago for the first time. Even though I live here, it's not a place that's easily accessible. But yeah, it's beautiful.
Yeah, wonderful. We've had some great comments. Let's just give a shout out. Pamela on Facebook says, "Wow, fabulous photos and what an amazing night sky." Yeah, amazing. Maddie's joined from YouTube, and Solvig says, "Dams are often constructed primarily to control floods, supply water, and generate hydroelectricity." I mean, that's one of the big concerns, right? Is that we are in need of more renewable energy. That is true, but we don't want our solutions to cause more damage either, right? Yeah,
Hmm.
always an issue. Now, if people are thinking of coming this time of year, autumn and winter, is there anything they can do, or should they wait till spring? What do you think, Zoe?
No, there's still the pack-raft and tent sauna tours that we're doing, and it's a great time of the year to do it. There's actually two special tours that we're having on the 11th of November and the 19th of November. I'm not sure the 19th still has space, but it's on another river. Well, it's Upper Niyodo, so the reason why we go there is because it's covered in momiji. So it's really really pretty in mid November, and so if that's something that's interesting for people listening, it's just reaching out to us and saying that you're interested in the tours or the special tours, and then we can answer any questions that you may have. But yeah, I'm really excited for these ones. It's really really beautiful.
Yeah. Looks great. So we're just looking at your website right now, Niyodo Adventures, where people can find out more about canyoning, pack rafting, the sauna tent, and then we also want to show your coaching website as well, and give people a chance to get in touch with you through that. Basically, through the contact page for Niyodo Adventure, and then book that way.
Sure. Or DMs or our email address, which is info@niyodoadventure.com. But the book online button there is also pretty straightforward. So if you already know what you want, you can just go straight on the booking website.
It's so great. I want to get in your sauna tent right now and go swim in that clear river.
Yeah, I
Looks
might do that this
amazing.
afternoon.
No, I'm jealous. All right. Just before we finish, I just want to show your coaching website as well.
Sure.
And you come from a design background. Do you think that helps you when you're making your websites?
Yeah, it certainly does. Yeah, I think so. I mean, we didn't learn to make websites per se when I was in visual effects school. But there's an element of choosing the right fonts and I guess the design part of it that definitely helps. But it's not everything. There's a lot of things that I have to YouTube or Google that I'm not too sure about. But I think a lot of the brochures that I design, the stickers, the T-shirts, etc. Like it's because I know the softwares that I'm able to do these things. Although YouTube University cannot be underestimated. I think anything that someone might want to do is definitely possible to do when you put the time into it. So yeah.
Nice. Pamela has said from Facebook, next time we visit family in Hiroshima, we will come and look you guys up. I think that's something we haven't mentioned yet this time. It takes about 5 hours coming from Hiroshima, and then Okayama is a little bit shorter, maybe 4 or 3 hours. And then you said a lot of people come from Kansai by car. And then if you come from Tokyo, most people would fly and then rent a car. Is that right?
Yep, that's correct. I think there's more and more routes to Kochi airport, even from Itami and Kansai. So we have a lot of people flying from everywhere, pretty much. Even like from we had people coming for a weekend from Hokkaido, right? Far out. But yes, renting a car, I would say, is definitely the way to go. Because it's so wide, and the trains and trams are not as developed, I would say, as like Honshu. So definitely renting a car is the way to go.
Awesome. Is there anything we didn't touch on that you wanted to say, Zoe?
I think that's pretty much it. I just want to promote the town and get people to be interested. And if someone wants to, move to the countryside or not too sure about what kind of business that they want to start, not even just in Niyodogawa, but just look up the Kyoryokutai program in many different towns. I think that in most countryside towns it is available, and so that kind of sponsors you and helps you to build your own business and help the town as well. So I think that that's one of the main things also.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Zoe. Thanks again for joining. After a year, maybe we'll catch up with you again next year.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Thanks, everyone. Make sure to check out Zoe's websites for Niyodogawa Adventure and Zoé Kanzawa for her holistic medicine and coaching website and connect that way. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining, and have a great day. Thanks, Zoe. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.